Are we there?
This is going to be a good show because that's never happened. I was like, well, what happened? What happened? All right. Whew. This is Kendéll Lenice, and welcome to Kendéll Lenice Live. This is the INNERview series where we talk about the inner. This is a place where my guests share their truths and share the work that they're doing on themselves or that they've done on themselves. Because when you're talking about life, it's about growth. It's about healing. It's about learning and discovering and rediscovering. And this is season 2. So with Kendéll Lenice Live season 1, it was the interview series. So yeah, what you do, and what do you do for a living? What are your titles? All of that. But it always, because I'm who I am as a life coach, it always went back to me wanting to know what was going on with the person outside of the titles. So with season 2, I said, you know what? I'm going to do INNERview, the interview series, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to tell you who my guest is. Look, sitting pretty over there. This is Doshia Kelly. She is a TV and film celebrity, makeup artist, and hairstylist. And that's amazing. She's done amazing things. But we're not going to talk about that today, girl.
Yes, we're going to get to the nitty gritty of it all.
To the nitty gritty. Welcome. I'm so glad, you became my sister, and I'm so glad that you took time out to join me on the interview series, because this series means a lot to me because there's so many people out there hurting or growing or not knowing how to pick up the pieces. People like, well, just make lemonade out of lemons. They're like, I don't know how to do that. I'm hurt, or I've been through this or that. So I'm so glad that you joined me to be vulnerable in this place and time. I appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Kendéll. And I really appreciate you having me on this platform for me to just be transparent because I'm pretty much a private person. So this is actually a challenge for me, but I'm definitely open to the challenge. So I really thank you for allowing me to be on this platform.
You are so welcome. And I'm so glad that you said that. I just want to make sure we're live because we had, because I know it's going to be some jewels dropped, and I definitely don't want to miss any of that. So let me just see. Okay, we are live. I just wanted to make sure. So if you're watching live, definitely, if you feel the conversation, if you want to drop your opinion or view, definitely do that in the comments. I'm just going to take a moment because we're live, and I just really have a feeling. I prayed before this, and I just really have a feeling that we're going to go where we're needed with this episode. So let me just share this, and then we're going to get started. But how was your day? Let's start there.
Actually, it was pretty hectic. I took a meeting a little earlier, and it was an impromptu meeting, so that kind of threw things off for the day. But it's been a pretty hectic day, to be honest. I woke up to emails and just getting phone calls and things like that. So just trying to get things on track so that tomorrow it'll be a little more balanced for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you said that, because sometimes people will be like, well, how was your day? If somebody asks, and then they don't even stop to hear you or listen or acknowledge what you said. People are so programmed and conditioned to just be like, oh, okay. You be like, what do you mean? Oh, okay.
Well, okay.
Her day was hectic.
Exactly.
Like,
you know,
did
but
you ask?
I have a relative that does that. They'll ask me a question and I'll give them an answer. And it's like, oh yeah, okay. And I'm like, but no, did you really hear the answer?
Right.
Did you hear what I had to say?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I heard you. Like, no, you did. Yeah. But it's
right. But you can tell when somebody doesn't hear, because they ask you the same question, or they don't repeat, or you be like, well, did you hear me? Yeah, you said this. And be like, that's not what I said. That's when you know. And that's, people are so conditioned to just respond and not really hear and not really listen to you. Like when people say, how you doing? And I'm like, how you all the way down there if you just asked how I was doing? So do you really care how I was doing?
That's really, I think it's more of a formality for people to ask, how are you?
Yeah.
It's just, it's just a formality. So, but they don't really care, or they just not listening to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I care, and I'm, it was a hectic day, but I'm glad that you made it through that day, to come to that beautiful little area of your home and just breathe and to be here with me. And I hope tomorrow is a little better than today was. So I just want to tell you that I hear you, sis, and I see you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about what you said earlier, because believe it or not, I used to be very, very private. And, some things I still hold to my, close to my chest. But I reveal so much of myself. And I find it allows you to let go of that cape, let go of people's expectations, let go of your own expectations. And what we go through is never for us if we find the message and really get through it. And so I get when you say that I'm typically very private. Why do you think that you're so private, and why do you want to now share, on sitting here talking to me?
I think it has a lot to do with my upbringing. It's kind of like what happens in the house stays in the house, so to speak. And I was kind of raised that way. So it just carried on into my adulthood. But it had to take, in order for me to get out of that, it actually took some things for me to learn how to be transparent in my walk and in my purpose. So yeah, growing up, my mother, she's a very private person. Like my mother,
Mine too.
Yeah, she ain't telling you a whole lot about herself. She's not telling you a whole lot about her children. So it's kind of like, I guess it was a learned behavior for me. But then after I had my daughter who is 20 now, I had to learn that, you really can't be private, because sometimes she'll ask me questions and I have to be transparent with her, right? But my mom, she wasn't like that with me and my sister. She would withhold information. And I'm assuming that she thought it was protecting us, but no, it really wasn't.
Sis, let me tell you, we must have grown up the same way. Because my mom, and Iyanla said one time that every woman needs to hear, every mother needs to tell their daughters, their woman story or their story of being a woman. And she said that one time years ago, and that stuck in my mind because once you become a woman, right, and your mom is a woman, it's a different level of connection. And sometimes you need to hear the woman story. Say if you have mother issues or some things, maybe if you hear the story. And so many mothers, like you said, maybe try to protect, or maybe they're embarrassed, or they still maybe feel like even if you're 50 or 40 or 30, that you still the child. Let me tell you, some things I'm finding out about my mom little by little by little, and some of the things that she's been through. I'm finding them out like now. And I had no idea. But my mother cannot stand how open I am now and how much I share. She does not like it. And if she sees this show, she'll probably be, but she doesn't like it because she doesn't come from that generation. And that generation is like, you don't be going out there telling everybody your business. But when you release secrets or when you share, you set yourself free. And you take the bullets out of the gun so nobody else can shame you with anything.
There you go.
And it's about healing and it's about growing and, so how do you find that shaped you in a negative way where you were so private?
Ooh, so my daughter, for example, when you talk about the woman story, telling your woman story. My daughter, she's amazing. She forced me one time to share a story or a situation with her that she had been trying to get out of me for years. And I refused to share it until one particular day. She called me and she says, "Mom, we need to talk about this." And I told her, "We're not having this conversation right now because I'm not ready." And she says, "No, Mom, we're going to have this conversation right now." Now, mind you, she was 19 at the time. She was 19 at the time. So I'm like, little girl, who do you think you're talking to? But
she was like demanding to have this conversation.
Exactly. So I said, okay, since you want to have this conversation, we're going to have this conversation. So I told her, basically it was my divorce, right? She wanted to know about my divorce, what transpired. She apparently had gathered some information, and she wanted to hear my side of the story.
So she heard from her father some information.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's more, she's a snooper, so I guess she saw like some documents or something.
Gotcha.
And so she wanted to hear my side of the story. And I feel like children should be children. And see, this goes back to what I was taught pretty much. There are some things that you just don't discuss with your children. And I felt like those were one of those things that I felt I shouldn't discuss with my child until she becomes old enough to understand, or I felt that until she was old enough to understand what was happening.
Yeah.
So when I had the conversation with her about what happened and I told her my truth, she received it. I was surprised how she received it. And her response was, "Wow, Mom, I didn't know that you had gone through what you had gone through. And I'm so sorry that happened to you." But in that, it gave me like a sense of healing, just having that conversation with her about that, and why things had transpired in my life based off of what had happened during that particular season of my life, if I'm making sense.
No, you're making sense, because you were trying to do what you knew. You were sheltering your child because you didn't think that she was mature enough or adult enough to handle it, because you didn't want anything to be tarnished or tainted of what she thought about you or the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I get it.
And
kids will surprise the mess out of you.
Listen, I was like, oh, she's more mature than I thought. Like, okay, she really understands. So I had to give her like scenarios of, okay, so when you get married and this happens, how would you handle it? And, so she understood the situation and why things happened the way that they did and why it was handled the way it was handled. So like I said, just having that conversation with her, it did give me a sense of healing with that. So, but I think that, you know, when we want to protect our kids, we don't want them to go through what we've gone through. So we try to withhold information sometimes from them, thinking that it is protecting them, but it's actually hindering them or hurting them in the long run. So I think that, you know, we should be a little bit more transparent with our children and let them know what it really is with us. I think if we do that, it'll give them a better understanding of who we are. And they won't be as judgmental towards us. Like I know someone that has a child, and this woman, she didn't graduate high school, right? She never told her son, like, she never expressed, hey, I didn't graduate high school. You know, you need to finish your education because I didn't get. So, but she has him thinking other things, like she's well educated and she's college. Like, yes, it's crazy. Instead of just,
I know someone like that found out when they were adult that their mother didn't finish high school. I know somebody, that same thing happened. I guess that's that thing that you want to have the facade and you want your children to think you're perfect. Right. But so that doesn't give them room to grow or to learn or to stumble. I remember my kids one time, they were like, well, because you were goody two shoes, you were perfect, you didn't do blah, 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 blah. And, you know, some of the stuff I didn't do, but what I wanted to clear up, they said that for years. And I wanted to clear up, no, little sisters, I'm not. No, not at all.
Right.
Perfect. So now I think I really showed them all my flaws when they were little. You know, I wasn't even in tune or in touch with, because I had gotten married the first time at 20 years old, had my first daughter at 22 and my second at 28, almost 29. So you got to, like, in my 20s, I wasn't thinking about sharing what I've been through. Like, it never even dawned on me. Like, if I was asked or if I had to, you know, I would have, but it wasn't intentional. You get what I'm saying? Absolutely. But I started making it intentional probably when I was maybe in my 30s, maybe. I started making it intentional with them, but only age appropriate. So then, honey, once I got in my 40s and they got older, you know, I was sharing stuff because it's my woman's story. And if they're young women in their 20s, then they need to know. You know, even when they were talking about boys, they were like, well, Mom, you had no problems getting a boyfriend or whatever, or you probably didn't have your heart broken. I was like, yes, I did. Just because I had boyfriends and just because boys liked me, it doesn't mean that my little feelings weren't crushed or hurt and I can't not relate to, you know, what you're feeling. Exactly. So that's why it's so important for them to see you as a real person. How did your relationship with your daughter change shift when she knew that you were a real life person?
Listen, She did look at me different. It was more like, wow. It was, how can I put it? I don't know. It was more of a sympathy, honestly. Like, I can't believe that, this has happened. Wow, I feel so bad. Okay, now now the dots are really connecting now. Now things are making sense. She is very open. Like, this girl, sometimes I'm just like, okay, Taylor, that's okay, wait a minute, because she's very, like, she'll call me, and I do appreciate her calling me and talking to me about any and everything when it comes to relationships, like all of that. She she talks about, she had a heartbreak. She talked about that. Like, she came to me, we cried about it. I said what I said, like, yeah, boys are stupid. And she was like, they are stupid. And I was like, yeah, they're even crazy.
They're stupid at 6. They're stupid at 13 and they're at 60.
That's what I was like. They're even stupid when they're older too.
Right. My daughter was like, I see some of the stuff some of the older women go through. You mean it don't change? I was like,
no. No. So, like, for us to have like those candid conversations, I really appreciate that. She's more open.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised about it. I'm like, wow, like, it had to take for that to happen, for her to really want to open up and have like these candid conversations. And sometimes the conversations, they're like random, like she'll like randomly ask me things. But she kind of was always like that, but now that she's older, it's even more prevalent. Because I remember when she was about 11, and she wanted to talk about puberty and all, and I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that conversation. And she was like, no, Mom, no, let's talk about this. And I'm like, Taylor, I'm not ready to have this conversation. She was like, no. Yeah, so this is happening and this is happening. Like, my friends, and I was like, okay, so we're not doing that.
Right.
So let's do this. Okay, we got to have this conversation, because we can't go about what your friends say or what your friends have done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's with my daughter, she tends to pull things out of me than me really going to her. She comes to me and asks me. And then when I say, Taylor, I'm not ready to have that conversation, she's like, no, let's have this conversation. And I appreciate.
Shout out to Taylor. That's right. I love it. I love it. But that's so important. I remember my daughter was in the 9th grade, my oldest daughter, and I won't say what she asked me on camera, but she asked me just as plain. She said, what is and she was learning in high school. She just entered 9th grade. Somebody was talking about it in 9th grade, and somebody was having sex in 9th grade. And when she came home, just as plain, and I'm thankful, because you got to really appreciate that your daughter can come to you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I was appreciating she came home straight up, asked me, no chaser, what is such and such? And I was like, so we going there. Like, that's what. So then I had to restructure the whole conversation.
Exactly.
Because they talking about stuff. First in my head, I was like, they still doing that?
Yeah.
Named it something different. And when she asked me, and I'll tell you off camera what it was, just in case, if somebody is watching, a child or something. But I was like, oh, okay. But like you said, that's so good. Now, you don't have to answer this, Doja. If I ask you this, you don't have to. But were you abused? And was it something like that your daughter found out?
It wasn't really a physical abuse, but it was more of an infidelity situation. So, gotcha. And in that, let me just say this with that situation. It's just crazy how one situation can like change your whole world.
Yeah.
So, you know, going through that and with my divorce prior to that, you know, I was young. I was a young woman. I was in my 20s. And I was spoiled, honestly. Like I was very high strung. I was spoiled and everything and just all over the place. So when that happened, and this is just me being very transparent, when I found out that there was infidelity in my marriage, I couldn't stay in the marriage. I just couldn't stay. So I divorced him. And throughout the process of the divorce, honestly, it took me to a deep depression. Like I couldn't, it physically changed me. I lost a lot of weight. I was really going through a lot during my divorce process. You know, just trying to figure out how I was going to take care of my daughter and, you know, me having to go back to school. I decided to go back to school. So it was kind of like, it made me grow up a lot. It made me mature. It gave me a different outlook on life. And what I wanted to do, it made me, I remember my attorney, this woman, she challenged me. She asked me, what is your purpose in life? And when she asked
that's
me
what
that,
the attorney asked
that's
you?
what my attorney asked me. Shout out to Barbara Washington. She's amazing. She asked me that. She said, what is your purpose in life? I want you to think about that. And I'm looking at her, and I'm a Christian, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at her like, we're not here for that.
Right.
We're here, you know, to try to settle this situation. And I said, I don't know what my purpose is. And she said, you need to find out what your purpose is here on earth. What's your blueprint? What does God have planned for you? Why are you here? And honestly, when she was talking like that, it was making me mad.
Right. Because you like this, I understand that's your ministry, but I'm just trying to get this stuff finalized and go on right with that. Yeah, I get you.
So she was calling out, and this was during our first session, my first meeting with her. She called out so many things. She said I was impatient. And she was so right. She said I was impatient. She asked me my purpose. Like she was just calling out things. And I'm like, this lady do not know me. This lady don't know me. But she made me really look, oh my goodness. Like she made me read self-help. It was more like a life coach. She sound like me. She sound like a life coach. It was crazy. She was like, here, I want you to read this book. Like she gave me books to read.
So she was empowering you through that. I think that's awesome.
She was amazing, but she had a story.
Like every woman has a story. We have to share it with one another.
Her story, and she had a powerful story. Like I think she was like the same age. It's just crazy. God is amazing. She was the same age I was when I was going through my divorce. And she had a daughter as well when she was going through her divorce. And she became homeless. She didn't have a law degree yet or anything. And she
saw you in her. She saw her in you.
It was so crazy. Like so when she was telling me her story, she was like, so what are you going to do? What's your plan? What's your next step? And honestly, listening to her and talking to her, is what really motivated me to go back to school to pursue my master's. And yeah, she was everything. She was just amazing.
She sounds like it.
Yeah, she was good. So she really held me accountable. Even though I was going through this process, it's like, okay, so I'm going to hold you accountable for what your next step in life, because you're still young. You still have time. You know, you're going to go through the motion with this, but you're going to get out of this. You're going to get out of this. And I did go through the motions. Like I said, I went to a deep depression, a really deep depression, to where I would be in bed and my daughter would like come to the bed and be like, "Mommy, can you get out of bed?"
How old was she at the time?
Oh my gosh, my daughter, this was years ago, but my daughter was about 5, about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So like, you know, didn't have the energy to like take her to the playground and things like that. So yeah, it was a very trying season, very trying season. And just having to deal with that and the anxiety and all of that, it made me look at things a lot different, honestly. And I was able to get through it with the help of my daughter and that conversation.
I love that. I think that's so, I mean, you dropped so many jewels, and I want people to catch them with women. And maybe we should give a teaser at the end of this, but we already are about the empowerment, right, of other women. And really, I think it's so important. I talk about this all the time, for women to share their stories with other women. And women need women. Yes. We need each other, and to hear another woman's story, because Barbara Washington heard your story or saw you, and it reminded her of her story, and she shared her story with you. And now you're able to share your story with these women and her story. Absolutely. So that's going to strengthen some woman listening to this, watching it, whether it's live or the playback this week, next week, a month from now. You are going to inspire someone. So what was the lesson that you got out of your divorce that made you purposeful and better for yourself?
It was that whole situation. It was definitely a life lesson. What I did learn is to be more self-sufficient. And I'm not going to say to be very to watch people's actions. You listen to what they say, yes, but watch their actions, you know. And what's the saying that Maya Angelou says? When they show you
who they are, believe them.
And if they show you the first time, believe it. I really stand by that, and I truly believe that. I've also learned to keep your circle like really, really tight, and not let everybody into your circle, but to have like a really good support system, a really good support team. You know, I find that to be very important.
Yeah. No, you're so right. So you learned to be self-sufficient, which is so powerful. You learned when people show you who they are the first time, believe it. And you saw how strong you were, that you probably didn't even know that you were that strong. And all of those things can carry you in through life. You were in your 20s then, now 40s now. Yes. I'm sure that gave you so much strength to be able to be an example for your daughter. Yeah. She, I don't know. Every time I tell her, I'm old, she's like, "You're not old. Stop saying you're old." I'm like, "Girl, I'm old." But you ain't old. If you old, that means I'm old, and I'm not old.
Feel right? I don't feel old. I don't.
And you don't look it.
Thank you. Yes, it drives her crazy, because when like sometimes
girl, you still a fly girl. What you talking about? You still a fly girl.
But she gets a little. Sometimes it makes her like, "Okay, Mom, what you doing?" Because I'll get the dancing or acting silly, and she's just like, Okay, calm down, you know. But
sometimes your kids don't let you be great. Let's talk about that for a minute. Because I gotta tell my kids, can I live? Can I live? Can y'all let me be great? Because they're like I was back then. So back in my 20s and stuff, I felt, nobody said this to me, but I felt like I was a little more prudish, a little more modest, a little more judgmental, a little more, this is because we're talking about upbringing, right?
Yeah.
How you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to do. And I was different. And I can see some of the part, like if I'm loud, they're like, shh. Or if I'm dancing, they might be like, Mom. Or if I'm on TikTok with my 28,000 followers talking to them, they'd be like, I'm on TikTok more than them. And I would always, I don't say it as much now because they know their mother, but I used to be like, can I live? Like, can y'all let me be great? And sometimes it turns in, you're probably with your daughter, or sometimes it seems like she's your mother.
Yeah, she'll just look like, Mom, you're embarrassing me. Like, Mom, stop.
Yes. So, that's our job though. That's our job.
Yeah. So, you know, I laugh and it's like, girl, listen, when you get my age, you'll understand, you know. So yeah, I'm at a place, and it's still there. I still have times where I'm a little down and things like that. But I've learned that meditation is like really, really important to me. And just knowing who my center is, which is God. God is my center. So just having a dialogue with him on a daily basis throughout the day and things like that. And just enjoying like every little, it can be like the smallest thing to someone else, but it's like the biggest thing to me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so like a little something, somebody can give me like a little flower, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like I'm very grateful for the little thing. So that's another thing that I also learned is to just be grateful.
Yeah. And that's so important to show gratitude for even the little things and the people in your life and even the things that you have, because so many people focus on what they don't have. So many focus on what God is not blessing them with, that they're forgetting the blessings of seeing and looking around when you get out of bed. Like first, that you got a bed. Second, that you got a roof over your head. Third, that when you open your eyes, you can see the room with your eyes. Fourth, that you don't have dementia or Alzheimer's, that you know what room you're in. You know, when your feet hit the floor, you can walk and stand up. Like people just take those things for granted. So when you write down your gratitude list and what you're grateful for, you're able to focus and meditate on that opposed to what God ain't doing right now. You know, and so many people think focus on that. And now we got time in social media where you upset that you don't have a car with a ribbon with a bow on it. You don't have this open floor plan house. You don't have these children. You don't have this husband or wife. Like people are so focused on what they don't have that they're walking in their home ungrateful when so many people don't have a home.
Right. Yeah. This is, you know, I totally agree with that wholeheartedly. Keeping up with the Joneses is what they say. You know, social media is cool. It's a great platform, but people that know me know that I don't be on social media a lot because I need to keep what I have here because sometimes with social media, it can be a distraction.
Yeah.
So I don't get on it as much because of basically what you were saying, how you see other people and what they're doing and how much they have and what's going on. Majority of the time, some people, it's not what it's all cracked up to be. I also have learned that less is best. So I used to like lavish, like it has to be. I still love the best, but it's not a necessity, if that makes sense. So you know, I live within my means. You know, I don't worry about what everyone else has and what everyone else is doing. Because that's not my walk. You know, if you have a big house or like 6 kids, girl, you like it, I love it. Like, that's not my fault. You know, I just take it for what it is, because I know what God has for me, and I know my purpose. I was doing a it was like a virtual, and it was a young lady. She was talking about how she wanted to start a business and how she didn't have time, and she wanted to, how can she gain like a lot of clients, and she wanted to quit her job and all this other stuff. So I told her, I said, you know, when I went into the beauty industry, I quit. I just up and quit, and I didn't look back. So for me, I didn't know what God had in store for me, right? But I just went with it. I gave it to God. God, you got this. I'm gonna let you handle it. And you know, he was able to provide. He made sure that I had just enough to do what I needed to do. He made sure that my bills were paid. He made sure that I had food to eat. I had a roof over my head while I was still doing what I need to do and grinding and doing, you know, grinding, right? So when I explained that to her, I said, if this is something that you really want to do, and if it's something that's in your heart, then I'm not going to say just up and quit your job, but you really need to pray on it. And if you see fit, you know, just step out. And I'm a single woman, and I did this, right? This woman has a family, like she has a husband, so she has like another supplemental income. But when I was discussing this with her, like the faces that she was giving me, like, I don't feel like listening to what you're saying.
Because people want stuff handed to them and they don't listen to God's plan and direction. That's why people want to do it their way.
You know, so that's the problem. Like, you're not here on earth to do you, to do what you want to do.
Come on, Doshia.
Yeah, you know, and don't get it wrong, because sometimes I go there, you know, want to do me.
Everybody does. Yeah,
right.
Does.
But that's not why we're here. We're here for a reason. We're here to fulfill whatever blueprint, whatever it is that he has for us, right? So, you know, I know that me going through what I went through when my daughter was little, I know that was supposed to happen. I know that me being where I am today, this is supposed to happen. This is supposed to get me to whatever it is that he has set for me. But I think what people fail to understand is when there's going to be struggles along the way. And the hemming and hawing and fussing, like people are like, oh yeah, I can take it. I can go through the struggle to get to where, but when you're like really in the struggle, like in the struggle, where you don't have money and you're trying to figure out what's going on. That whole perspective changes. You know, it really changes. So I don't know.
How do you, you know, on not so good days and when life is giving you lemons, how do you make it through that day and try to create some type of lemonade, whether it's a little sweet, a little sour? How do you manage to go through? Because there's so many people that are really having trying days and not so good days. And like I said, they're like, make lemons out of lemonade. How am I supposed to do that when I feel like this or when my money is low? How do you do it? How can you inspire someone else watching, you know, being completely honest and transparent? How do you do it? And what does that not so good day look like?
Right. So for me,
and how have you done the work to kind of
get through it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a story. This is when I was in corporate and I had gotten laid off. So the day that I had gotten, like, they laid me off during my lunch hour. Okay.
Well, at least they didn't do like Friday on your day off. At least you're still at work.
This is true. So I'm coming back from lunch and my boss, he comes to me and he's like, can I talk to you for a second? So I was like, sure. No, he called me. I'm sorry. He called me and said, can you come to my office? I was like, yeah. So I go into his office. It's him, his assistant, the lady that was head of HR. They're all three of them are in the office, right?
Waiting for you.
Oh, wait for me. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking like, okay, what's about to happen? So he says, you know, that he had to lay me off and everything. So I'm like, okay. So they're looking at me like, okay, is she on spaz out? Like, what's I was like, okay, you know, I really thank you for the opportunity.
How long were you there at that time?
I was with them for 7 years.
Oh,
I was with that company for 7 years. Yep. And and this is what they did. So they said, well, you can come back and get your things. It was, yeah. And I said, no, they were like, she said, you could pack your things up today and take them with you. I told her, the lady in HR, I said, I will not walk out of here with boxes.
You're going to keep your dignity.
I will not do that. So I said, I will call and I will schedule to come and pick them up. So they were like, okay. So as I'm walking out of the building, like they had locked my computer and everything. I couldn't get in. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But they had laid off. It was the housing industry. At the time, the housing industry wasn't doing well. 08, so they were laying off people.
07, 08.
Yes, yeah. So I walked out, and a really good friend of mine, I called her as I'm walking out of the building. She was a colleague. I'm like, hey, and she's a Christian. So I said, listen, I just got laid off. She said, really? I said, yes. I said, I'm calling you first to let you know, because I know that everybody's going to be looking at you crazy. Like, okay, so where your girl at? Where Doshia? So I'm letting you know that I got laid off. And I need for you to pray for me. She was like, I got you, girl. You good? I said, I'm great. She was like, okay, I'll call you later. So get off the phone with her. Call my mom. Hey, mom, just wanted to let you know I just got laid off. My mother, love my mother. What? The first thing that comes out her mouth, how you gonna pay your bills? Oh, so that means you're gonna have to move and stay with me. And I'm like, that's not gonna happen. I'm good. I said, I'm good. She was like, but how you gonna pay your bills? I said, Mom, trust me, I'm good. So get home. I had to take a breather. So I just like rest that day. The next day I got up at 6 a.m. I started looking for jobs. I just started looking for jobs. Then I applied for unemployment, and I started making phone calls, because now my mind is like, okay, so I just got laid off. Yes, they're going to send me a severance, but now I have to keep the ball rolling. I'm not going to
in a different mode.
Exactly. So now I'm in a hustle mode, I guess. It's like, okay, so I got to get the ball rolling. What am I going to do? So I started looking for jobs, making phone calls, calling headhunters, and then also I'm able to take care of odds and ends that I wasn't being able to take care of because I had the 9-to-5. So I'm taking care of that too. So I was out of work for about a year, but in between that time, when I tell you that I was taking all kinds of jobs from contractors, that because I needed the money, even though I was getting unemployment, I still had my severance. I went into my 401k and pulled some money from out of there. I had to do what I needed to do because I had to take care of this little person as well as myself. So my mother says, once I got back on once I started working again, she says to me, "Oh, you haven't asked me now for 1 cent. You haven't asked me for food. You haven't asked me to help you with, your rent, nothing." And I said, because I'm a grown woman and I have a child. So I say that to say that, when things happen like that, you have to, don't sit and sulk for a long period of time.
Get in, get out.
Get in, get out. Do what you got to do. Come up with a strategy, and pray. And pray.
And then pray again.
And then pray again.
Some more.
Exactly.
Then get on it. Then get in. Then pray with a group.
And fast.
Then pray.
Yes.
And then pray again.
But put in the work, because even in the Bible, even though you pray, but in the Bible it says without work, what is it? It's dead, right?
Without work is dead. Yeah. So you can't just sit back like this and say, "God got this." No, you got to do it. And he also gives us wisdom. So you got to do your work. Like God helps those who help themselves. So you still got to do the work. Now, if you're doing the work and you still can't find a way, that's when you still do it, but you throw up your hands and say, "God, whatever you have for me," or whatever it is. Now, because sometimes you could be doing the work, and still no end of the tunnel. But then that's when you really got to be like, okay, God got a plan, but you can't just sit back and do nothing.
But always ask God to order your steps.
Yes.
Because every day I ask God, order my steps. Have me go where you want me to go. Have me speak when you want me to speak. Have me be quiet when you want me to be quiet. It has gotten me out of so much stuff.
That's a good prayer. Yeah.
Yeah. It has gotten me out of so much stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so, and I thank you for sharing that story, because so many people, even with COVID, I had lost my job because I do what I do, but I was doing that part-time, and I was working for a nonprofit for 12 years. And last March I lost that. So financially it has been tough, because what I do, coaching and stuff, I've been doing for 20 years and doing everything, but it's never been the sole income. So, that's, it's a hurting place, but, God does have purpose and reason, and, he pushes us out of certain places and he does certain things. And then later we be like, oh, that's why. Right. Yep. But in that valley, you can't see the yet.
You can't, and you do get a little frustrated. You do get a little discouraged. So yeah, I mean, there were times within that time when I was looking for another job, I did get a little discouraged, but I took these odd jobs. I remember one job I had taken. The lady clearly, she was like, "You are not supposed to be here." She was like, "You are not. It's so obvious. You're not supposed to be here." And I said, "You're right."
You said Arby's?
No, she said it's obvious. She said it's obvious.
I thought you said you worked at Arby's.
No, it was for a nonprofit, but it was like in what was it? Like they had me restocking like their snacks and stuff in their break room.
Okay, yeah.
So
I remember, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. As a single mom, I was divorced. And as a single mom, I remember my job moved and I got laid off and moved to another state. So I always call them, and I talk about them even in my book, I talk about them in blogs, but meantime jobs or meanwhile jobs. Yeah. And girl, one time I was in somebody's mail room. Back in the day, my kids were young. I was in, until you just said that, I had forgot all about that. But I sure was, and I had my little cart, girl, like you see, like Chris Rock and Boomerang. Yeah. That just came I totally forgot about it. And I had my little cart. You got to do what you got to do.
It humbled me. I had to humble myself to make sure that I was being responsible and doing what I needed to do to take care of my household. Yeah. Yeah. So it was a lot of humble pie. A lot. Yeah.
And God has a way of doing that to build you. And sometimes, you know, they say God doesn't put on you more than you can bear. I'd be like, well, God must think I'm a gorilla. He must think I got a back. Like, I can bear that too. And that. That's why I'm like, God, you think I'm the bomb, don't you? Yeah. I'm like, how in the world? Like, I'm going through something right now, and I'm like, God, like, you really think that I'm that dope and strong? Like, you really? I'm like, sometimes I don't feel like it, but I'm like, you must really think I'm a dope chick.
But that's the best place to be, though, Kendéll, when you don't feel like it. Because then it's that's where the vulnerability, he can really work with you. Yeah. So yeah. Just
because I know everything, you know, I'm a strong believer that everything is for purpose and by purpose. You know, even some days it doesn't feel like, and I've been a life coach for 20 years. I'm positive most of the time, 99% of the time, and happy. But then you have those moments, and I always try to tell people that too, because people see me smiling all the time, most of the time, and it's never fake or phony. Nothing that I say or post, none of that. You know, because I will tell you, like, hey, pray for me, you know, some stuff going on. And I think it's so important for people to see all layers of you, because you don't want to get somebody twisted the minute something goes wrong or not like they want it, and think, well, how come her life is always right and perfect? How come his life is always? You want to be able to, you know, talk about, you know, the glory of God and what happens. You want to be able to do that so people can see, you know what? Like, it's not always coming up roses, but the roses will come. And when you go through something, you're not stopping. You're going through it. So you're going to come out. You just don't know when. Just like if you're going through a tunnel, you're going to come out and eventually you will see the light. Now, if you're in a traffic jam and you sitting there for longer than you want, that's what really life is. But eventually you're going to come out of that thing. And then you're not going to come out of that thing with not learning or growing or knowing or appreciating God and yourself that much more. So a couple of questions towards it. We're almost at the end, girl. This was good. I didn't even realize it's 5 o'clock. Wow. We're already at the hour. But so I want to ask you, Doshia, what brings you happiness? What brings you joy?
It's the small things. Going back to what I said prior, it can be something as small as like watching a child ride a bike, or, you know, one of the things that really makes my heart melt and go bananas, I love to hear my daughter laugh.
That's why I got closer. I knew, Doshia, you were going. That's why I got close. I was like, is she going to say what I think? The sound of children laughing is, I knew. I didn't even know you were going to say that, but I knew. That's what, did you see me get close? I'm like, I know she's going to say what I thought. Yes.
Yeah. I think that children are like, they're little angels. So they're like so precious and so perfect, and, you know, no filter. They're so free. you know, so I love to see children like be free, and so that's one of the things that really brings joy and makes my heart smile.
What brings you peace?
Artistry. Honestly, artistry. Any type of creative, it could be music, painting. It really brings peace to my soul.
What makes you smile?
I know this sounds crazy, but sitting quietly eating ice cream.
No, that's good. That's your happy place. That makes
that's my happy.
You be like this. You be smile like.
You know, so my favorite ice cream is Cold Stone, right? And so you know how you see people that have their face plastered to the glass and like lick the glass. That's how I am with Cold Stone ice cream.
You love it.
I love Cold Stone ice cream.
See, the way my lactose is set up. But let me tell you, when I was, so I don't eat much dairy anymore. But when I ate Cold Stone, I used to like coffee ice cream. Now I've liked coffee ice cream since I was a little kid and never had coffee then. But I like coffee ice cream, the strawberries from Cold Stone, and then the little brownie pieces.
Okay.
That was my shot at Cold Stone.
Yes.
I don't eat much anymore. I don't eat that, but yeah, and it's the little things, you know. So what are you grateful for?
So for me, I am grateful for purpose, honestly. I'm grateful that he has chosen me to be here on earth, to be able to share my gift. So that is honestly what I'm grateful for.
Last question. What is the best part of Doshia?
Oh, there's many layers of Doshia.
Come on.
Oh, the best part of Doshia. I love to laugh. Like I'm silly. I'm a silly person. For the most part, I'm pretty silly. The best part of me, I would say, a lot of people say that I'm very humble. So I guess that would be considered the best part of me.
Yes. And you know, like we were talking last night, and I was like, it was love at first sight with us. Yes. You are my sister. We are so similar in many ways when I'm listening to you speak and just talking about the little things that make you happy and loving to laugh and really having that childlike quality still. I think that's so important for grown women to not forget about the child that lives within. You know, it's little stuff that can make us happy. I'm with you on that. It don't take much. The simple stuff. This was good. The interview series. This was good, Doshia. I'm so glad that you. Yes, I'm so glad that you took the time and your amazing background. You know, just getting off of work to be able to do this. Should we tell people what we're working on? Should we tell them just drop a little bit?
You want to? I'm gonna let you do that. Just drop a little bit of.
A little bit. So Doshia and I are going to have a seminar workshop coming to a city or state near you. It's called Girl Power from the Inside Out. She's going to show you how to do a good brow. She's going to talk about if you look good, you feel good, and hair tips, as she's a celebrity TV and film makeup artist and hairstylist. And she's going to be all things beauty on the outside. And then I'm going to tackle the inside. Because if you look good, you feel good. But if you ain't working on the inside, then you're not good. And I'm going to show you how to be great from the inside out. So we're going to be targeting mind, body, spirit, the outer appearance and everything. So that's going to be our workshop. But the good part, should I tell them the other part too? That we're going to have each seminar.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got to claim it. We got to talk in how
Yes.
we're doing it. We're setting it up now for October of 2021. But we want to have it in a Black business or restaurant around the country, starting on the East Coast.
Yes.
So y'all heard it first. Go ahead. What you say?
No, it's gonna be dope. Like I'm really excited. I think that just doing something like that, like this, it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to just having a girls' day and just getting together, have fun, have a lot of dialogue. So it's not like a thing where you're just gonna sit there and listen. And we want you guys to be engaged in what we're doing. So it's gonna be like a girls' day of just fun and excitement. You know, just having fun.
Yes, we already told you we like to have fun. We like to have a good time. Yeah. You heard Doshia. Doshia is a dope woman that's layered, that's been through some stuff, that's still making it do what it do. That she's raised a daughter. You know, she's in the beauty industry. She's living, you know, her dreams, and she's not afraid to talk about God, where so many people are, and she's not afraid to. You know, you releasing that, you know, you releasing that, I'm private, I don't usually share. You're releasing that. And so many women are going to be attracted to that. So we're going to have a mighty good time. So you all heard it first. We just kind of finalized or kind of put things in motion officially yesterday. So y'all are the first to hear this. So it's going to be girl power from the inside out. So stay tuned for more information. Tickets will be $25, but we'll tell you about that later. We just wanted to let you in on a little secret.
Just a little secret. Just a little bit.
Secret. I told a lot, but everybody won't see this. But if you see this, then you tell another woman, and then you'll start to see the advertisements for that. Doshia Kelly, everybody, wasn't she amazing? Whether you're watching this live, like I said, a week from now, 2 months from now, this will be housed right here on YouTube. So do yourself a favor and subscribe, like, and comment, and share this with another woman who is going through something right now, to know that they can overcome anything because the power is within them and God gave it to them. So thank you so much, Doshia, my sister, for the interview series. I appreciate you being transparent. It's not easy for everyone. So I appreciate everything that you shared. I really, 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 really do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for having me on the show. And, you know, this is a work in progress. So it was definitely a challenge for me, but I thank you for, you know, put me up to the challenge for sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff. Girl, you're gonna look, you stick with me for a while as we do this tour. You're gonna be like, girl, you got me telling all my business. You're gonna be like, that darn Kendéll got me telling all of them, got me out here bucket naked, telling all my
business. As long as if it's gonna help another woman get through her journey, I'm here for it.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Yes. Yep. And there you have it. We're going to end right there as we go off with this to me sums up women. Strength, courage, and wisdom.
Oh, yes, NDRE.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.